Right.
good academic experience, good learnings will lead to good placements.
Dialogue of three idiots we all remember, run behind the
Yeah.
scenes. Tarakki to chhat maar ke piche aayegi, that. There are a lot of organizations, a lot of people are trying to change different things. But it's just not clear what's the problem.
That the game of school and the game of learning are two very different games, right? In the game of school, you go to school, you know that you've been told that there are certain behaviors that will be rewarded, right?
A lot of times it is about holding a degree from an institute that gives you a validation.
India heads of various brilliant Fortune 500 companies, where when I ask them why is it that you go to an IIM ABC to hire, because it's not that you only need to have one good CAT day, but you have to do well in your 10th, in your 12th, in your undergrad, at your workplace, in the CAT, in the GDPI. Then once you enter that space with 400 plus students who are very similar to you in their journey, etc., you have to constantly keep working hard.
Let's say 30 people are going to college, schools, and then only 9 are going to universities. Is it that a lot of people are not pursuing higher education?
So the first problem that I said was there are not enough jobs in the space. Right. That is the first one. The second one is, well, there are jobs, but you're not able to get them. Right. And in my opinion, the second one is a problem, because the first one, I don't think that in the Indian context, there are a lot of domains where jobs are going downwards, because we are a very fastly growing economy, and therefore there's a lot of scope in the first sort of space.
I remember those days when you used to go to cyber cafes to use our Facebook IDs and log in.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I remember.
Be online for 6 p.m. and we'll be there.
Absolutely. I think this idea of age is very nuanced.
I was shocked when I heard this, that the college itself is in Cyber City.
Oh yes, so, we are in Cyber Park.
We are in Cyber
Park. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that's not a college space at all.
But no, that's a very well thought out reason for that, right? There's a lot of cross-pollination that happens when you're operating in business parks. Students are getting to meet industry leaders even when they're in the lift. You go for a chai sutta break, you're able to talk to people who are working in companies across, right? And right. It's a very well thought out decision to do it. That's the reason why we're able to get so many CXOs and so many masters to come and teach, is because it's easy for them, right? Sometimes you just have to take a lift down, teach a class and go back up. You can do it in your lunchtime.
Hello everyone, welcome to EdTalk, a podcast where we dive deep into the ever-evolving landscape of education. And this is the third episode of EdTalk, and today we have Dr. Nandini Seth with us. So we're going to talk a lot education in this, and the new age education rather. So without further ado, let's welcome her. Hi Nandini, how are you?
Hey Sagar, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you very much for asking. And thank you very much for joining. For our viewers, it took us, 2 months to get into this podcast. So it was it was a big deal for both of us, but happy to have you on board. And without wasting any more time, let me pass the baton to you. So yeah, if you can give us a basic understanding about your journey, then we can maybe drive the conversation from there.
Wonderful. So firstly, thank you for having me here. I know that you've been persistent in your pursuit to, get me on this podcast, and thank you for your patience on that.
Pleasure.
So my journey started long ago when I think I joined my first job, which was right after undergrad, and it's some odd, 13, 14 years ago. And I realized the amount of value that one can bring to the table and define business decisions. I was just a mere analyst, and I really wanted to sit on the big table. I really wanted to be the one who's, creating these wonderful models, making these wonderful decisions that are really changing the direction that the company heads in. So it was in that moment that I decided that I want to do something that makes people listen to me, basically, and makes them want to hear what I have to say. Thereon, I went and did my master's, consecutively ended up at Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, doing my PhD, which was a wonderful journey in itself. I left IIM Bangalore with a PhD in quantitative techniques. I'm a mathematician and statistician by my training. And I use a lot of these machine learning algorithms, reinforcement learning algorithms, and tech techniques in making decision making easier for managers and businesses. That was my context. It was right when I was at Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, that I started working also with the ISB Hyderabad. I became a fellow, the first lot of fellows in a place called Digital Identity Research Initiative, which is essentially an incubator that was trying to use data that was generated with the use of Aadhaar and helping make policy decisions, helping make business decisions better. So I became one of the fellows there. So with this sort of context of Indian Institute of Management Bangalore as well as ISB Hyderabad, I uh, came out and was trying to look for something that can be challenging enough for me, as well as something where I get to in a way redefine the way we look at education, more specifically quantitative education, and we can dwell deeper into what I feel about quants. But that's what I was trying to seek. At which moment I met with Mr. Pratham Mittal, who was still conceptualizing this college, which was Masters Union. And I absolutely fell in love with the idea of having a business school that operates on this agenda that students need to learn anything by doing it. And they need to be in fail safe environments, make those, those failures also contribute to your learning. I was so aligned with this idea that the industry should define what you teach business students and not a curriculum that has been set, years ago. And that's where it started. I became one of the first employees of Masters Union, and we did not have a college, we did not have a curriculum, we did not have a team. We just started on with this idea and this genuine willingness to change the way business school education works. And well, we are 4 years plus into the journey, and it looks very different now. People know about Masters Union, people know what we are doing, people are emulating what we are doing, and yeah, it's been a great joyride. Um, quite a uh, quite a roller coaster at it, but a very, very good one.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. I mean, we all have heard of Master Union left, right, and center, and we have seen some of the greatest placement record ever in India. I mean, the average was higher than any ISBs and IMs of the world. So kudos to you for that. Now I understand you are the part of the core team, so we can talk a lot about all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think placements oftentimes, is something that is spoken about very massively, in the Masters Union sort of space. But um, I have a very different opinion on that, right? And that opinion is that I always see the placements as a byproduct.
Right.
Good academic experience, good learnings will lead to good placements. It's not a Masters Union recipe, it's an education recipe. If you are making students like skilled enough that they can enter a room and they are able to deliver value, the interviewer is going to see that and they're going to get job offers, right? And so while that is usually the first thing that people talk about, I genuinely think that in the next few years, I don't like already currently we are getting students who say we don't even want placements. At an admission level, they are happy to opt out of the placement process. Even in the current batch, there is a good bunch of students who has already opted out of the placement process because all they want to do is maybe build their own venture, right? Maybe build their own skill set, and they're going to go out and get way better jobs than even what Masters Union can get them. So I think that's just a byproduct of the entire 16-month journey that they are doing there.
No, that makes sense. I mean, in the in the space we talk about placements, that's what brings a lot of eyeball on the I mean, on the venture. But eventually what you're saying is it's all about excellence. That dialogue of three idiots we all remember, run behind
Yeah,
excellence. uh,
yeah,
Tarakki to jhak maar ke piche aayegi, that kind of
right.
dialogue. So it's going to be that. Okay, so let's go little back, little back. I don't know why I said back, but little back. Um we almost all of us, Maxim, get a privilege to go to a school. So it starts from
Mhm,
kindergarten, then primary, secondary, higher school, and so on and so forth. So let's understand the gap. uh,
mhm,
there are a lot of organizations, a lot of people are trying to change different things, but
mhm,
it's just not clear what's the problem.
mhm,
Is it mental health? Is it incorporation of large language, which is kind of disturbing the whole set of curriculum that our organization is trying to set for students?
mhm.
So let's take one step at a time. Do you think it's very important to inculcate in a student that um, that attitude of uh, not being negatively competitive in
Mhm.
any kind of sense, with the fellow students?
It's it's very interesting, right? There's quite a lot to unravel there. So I'm gonna pick out, since you said we go back to school, let's pick out a K-12 context, right? Let's
Sure.
let's pick out a context of schooling, and you know how so my there's a genuine interest that I have in understanding why people learn the way they learn and how can that be made better, right? And I'm going to say a statement that I know is not very popular right now, but I assure you that's going to catch up. And that statement is that the game of school and the game of learning are two very different games, right? In the game of school, you go to school, you know that you've been told that there are certain behaviors that will be rewarded, right? You go sit in the class. When the bell rings, you start studying a particular subject. The bell rings, you stop studying that particular subject. When the teacher says your name, get up. When the teacher gives you homework, do that homework exactly the way 39 others in your class would have done it. When there is exam, you learn. Basically, it's an assembly line of learning where you do some form of mugging up of a concept. You reproduce that concept, you end up learning. That's exactly how schools have been, right? That's exactly how schools have been. And there is something that is a big challenge there. Do you know where the idea of schools actually came? How did schools came into being in human history? When was the time when people realized that there needs to be a school, which is a room where there's going to be one instructor and a few bunch of students which are going to sit and learn something?
Oh, let's talk about it. I don't know.
So it's really interesting, right? It goes back to the World War, and it
Okay.
was in during the World War times, and they wanted schools for military, right? So they wanted to train people to do well in these defense forces, which is when this idea came that you put all of them together in one room and give a one to many form of education, because they wanted to train a lot of people at the same time. Plus, defense is something where when you are clubbed with more people, your the enthusiasm to do better increases, and therefore putting them in one room according to one sort of thought process really made sense, right?
Right.
But along with that came the rigidity of what defense forces are known for, right? They are very process oriented, they have very rigid schedules, they have very rigid curriculums, they have very rigid rules that everybody must follow, right? And that was the beginning of the school. We got it wrong right at the beginning, right? And from there on, while that still kept going on only for the military side of things, came this entire American culture of standardizing everything, right? The Ford era that
Right.
we know of, where everything needed to be standardized. So then came the concept, and it flew into the schooling concept where they said, okay, let's bunch people who are the same age together. Let's bunch people who come from similar backgrounds together. Let's standardize curriculums that everybody who's 6 years old should be learning the exact same thing. Let's standardize that there should be one exam that everyone is judged on, right? And it just sort of was this combination of like a defense-led group learning plus a very Henry Ford driven standardization concept, which got put together, and that became the Western schooling system, right? And that is exactly what then it was basically, it spread like a wildfire globally, and everybody wanted to get on that thing because it felt like that is development. And it was, from the times that we were in, it was. However, it really missed out few of the key learning parts, right? Not all 6-year-olds are the same. Not
Right.
everybody uh, not everybody needs to excel at math. Not everybody needs to learn at the same pace as their classmates. We are not at a state of war, so we don't really need to compete with each other all the time constantly, right? We don't need to one up the other person. And these ideologies really got missed out when we were designing school itself. It's not an Indian context thing. A lot of times, oftentimes when people ask me this question, they say Indian schools do this badly, Indian boards do this badly. Not true. Not true. Indian boards do a lot of things that are right. Indian schools are still doing a lot of things that are right. This is a global phenomena. And it's a global phenomena. It's genealogical in nature because we started off incorrectly. Somehow any tweaks that are being made are small tweaks, right?
Right.
And those small tweaks are more band-aids. They are not reinventing the wheel altogether. These are band-aid approaches of trying to make things better. Oh, mental health is an issue, let's put a counselor there, fine. Oh, humanities is not getting a lot of coverage in the school, okay, maybe let's add a couple of subjects. Oh, students health is not great, let's add a nutrition subject, let's add the
Right.
PE course. All of these are band-aids that we are putting, right? We really need to rethink this entire idea of learning. We really need, and again, a digression from my train of thought, but a very good example for that is when Elon Musk got up and said, hey, listen, my kids are not going to go to a standard school. I'm going to create a school for them, right? And he created a school for them. And I think there is plenty to learn from why he wanted to go away from this. Not because he's Elon Musk, not because he's rich and famous, but purely because he is somebody who goes back to the drawing board, and he tries to see, if I could do this all over again, how would I do it? And would that be better? Would that be worse? We don't know that yet. But
Right.
but but I'm very aligned on what he was trying to do. Very, very aligned. And I think
That's great
that's
insight.
that's
No,
something we all need to do, right? That's something
right.
we all need to do.
Right. Right. Well, that's a great insight. Never thought about it like this. I mean, what you said, that even what how I also see it. I mean, if we draw, as I in our previous discussion, I've told you that if I imagine there's a line segment which starts from preschool and goes to a job typically for every student, there are a lot of gaps. But I never
Hmm.
realized that all the solutions that we are talking about are like the bandage solutions. This is
Yeah,
the gap. Let's cover it. Let's just give a painkiller for that, and then just
yeah.
let it. Let's just mull over it. Uh, okay, what's the solution according to you? Let's say if somebody wants to solve this problem
Hmm.
at a very early stage,
Hmm.
what are the challenges that they will see for the very first time? uh, will it be from the system side, or will it be from the parent side?
Hmm.
And then l- after discussing the problems, or the problem statement, we can maybe discuss about what can be a solution towards creating a right education system at the very start.
Right. So I think um, a very fundamental thing for me is to do away with this idea that there is one right education system for every kid, right? And I think I will, to my last dying breath, keep fighting this idea that there can be one standardized uh, curriculum or one standardized classroom that is good for everybody. But I also understand that there is a radical approach to changing things which says, hey, listen, schools are bad, or whatever the current understanding of school is bad, and we need to rejig the entire thing. And then there's a pragmatic approach, which is that while I understand that there are things that are off, what are the things that I can change with acceptance from both, institutions, systems, policy front, um, parental front, financial aspects, all of those. There are certain things that can be changed, right? And they are on the right path to making this better. They might not be the complete wonderful A-star solution, but you are heading in that direction. I think the first one, in my opinion, and I'll give you the solution and then tell you maybe the issues that somebody might face while implementing those.
Sure.
But the first one is to really um, rethink a lot of what we teach youngsters, right? So, for example, I don't think that a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old needs to spend a lot of time in the classroom learning maybe the reproductive system of a flower, right? Which is something that we do, right? It's a seventh, eighth standard sort of curriculum.
Right.
Um, Maybe not, right? Maybe not. But do we ever teach students how to communicate better? Not really. Do we ever teach students how to do problem solving? Not really. There is a good set of students in a classroom that you can identify as the smart ones or the street smart ones that have a better first order thinking, right? They are just good at problem solving, is why you say they are street smart, right? What develops that? Right? It's a skill that you can hone with time. Negotiations is a skill that you can hone with time. Collaboration is a skill that you can hone with time. Right? Personal finance is a skill that you can hone with time. Taking care of their emotions is a skill that you can hone with time. Those are aspects that are not a part of a curriculum at all, but are so wonderful in shaping human beings into being valuable additions to the society. And right now, we are really faltering at doing that at the K-12 level, right? Now, to answer your questions, where will we lack? We don't have a designed curriculum for it yet. I am not even sure if the boards currently, or even very very established L&D organizations at present have enough information or data in order to create these and know that, for a 10 to 15-year-old this would work the best, etc. So there's a lot of work that would need to go into even designing this kind of a curriculum.
Right.
Second is we don't have enough trainers who would be able to do this, right? So it will require a lot of train the trainer before school teachers can go and maybe teach this correctly to the
Right.
students, right? um, I think, and the third apprehension that you may have could be because the parents of the current generation of students have learned a certain way and have seen, a lot of them have seen success. It might be difficult um, to register, to deliver this message to them that these are the things that are important. However, I do see there has been a transition when I speak with parents who have younger kids. They do sort of acknowledge that their educational journey wasn't the most optimal, and they would like to do it differently for the student, for their kids. So I do see in the urban sort of markets, that's where you're heading, but education has to be equitable, right? So
Right.
I can still not go to like a tier 2 city and explain to them that these are things that your kids should learn, right? So I think there are massive challenges there, but also there is a huge scope of improvement. Right now, the way education is working, and I mean this not just in the K-12 context, but a lot of undergraduate and master's level school also, even if you do 1% better than the existing, the impact is felt so much because things have been the same for ages now, right? It's very surprising that with the onset of so much technology, so many ways to learn better, we are still doing the exact same curriculum, little bit here and there, right? Um, we've not thought about whether this is even relevant. Yeah,
Right.
we are uh, we are still teaching sixth standard students how to write a letter, do they really need to learn where the address should go? How do you address somebody? And then, the same sort of format. We don't need that anymore, right? The modes of
Right.
communication have changed so drastically. Why do you even need to teach the kid that? But we are still doing that. And I think, yeah, that's where we need to rethink the subjects altogether. So I think that
Makes
would be
sense.
my first sort of more radical, but with a pragmatic solution thing. There are you can, these are again, you can start solving these by doing workshops, right? And those can be either driven by school, or there is a big space in edtech that can come up, right? And for the K-12 education and deliver to those students. I think again, something that I have been really keen and working on in that space, hopefully on a venture which can address these issues at a K-12 level.
Right.
I think that is one big one. The second one that I think we need to do away with is this idea that everybody at the same age needs to learn the same thing, right? I think we have to gamify this a little more. It has to be like the Abhi, the way we think about gamification is actually not gamification but pointification. You say
Right.
these are 100 marks, you give exam, you get some marks on that paper, whatever, and you're compared against other, and people think that's gamification. No, that's not gamification, that's pointification. A true game is like a game of Mario, right? You die, you come back again, you start to play again. This time you're able to cross that, pothole that you fell into, or this time around that duck doesn't kill you, right?
Right.
And then you may die at another stage, but then it revives again and you go back again. Why can't education be like that? Why can't I fail once and then redo it, or maybe not even fail. Maybe somebody tells me, "Hey, listen, not the learning objectives that we were hoping have not been met. Maybe let me try to teach you this as a different way." Right? So it should almost be like unlocking of stages, that okay,
Right.
fine, I wanted to teach the kid the entirety of statistics. At first I started teaching the kid probability. I tested the kid on the probability in some way. It was, I'm not even right now saying it should not be exam or it should be exam. That's a whole together different sort of space which we can speak about, on how do you correctly check whether learning objectives are met or not. But let's say we do some form of evaluation and realize that these 5 kids did super well, which means they now understand this concept. These 10 kids got the concept but got a few things wrong. How can I patch that up so that these 10 are also like these 5 who were able to learn everything? And then there
Right.
are maybe 15 who did not do very well at that evaluation, which means that they have not learned this concept, right? It cannot always be blamed on the student being he did not put in enough effort, etc., right? It could sometimes be a systematic problem because of the delivery. It could be because what we are teaching is just not interesting to the kid, etc. So how do you fix that and bring all of them to one place? And for that you will need to do some form of modification and some form of repetition, right?
Right.
And that is something that I think we need to really start doing at school level, because at school level you have a lot of time on your hands. Yeah, it's a few years. When once the student reaches a certain age and once they are in college, etc., there's a lot of other factors which are, again, there are aspects to their social life that come into play, which are extremely important on their overall holistic development. There are aspects of career building that come into play. There is that sense of responsibility that sometimes kids start to feel, and all of these are really good aspects of human development, and you don't want to take away attention from them. Whereas in school, it's all about learning, and the more you can turn learn into play, the better kids are going to do, and you can see generations do better, right? It
Right.
can be an entire generation that does better than the last generation, just because you were able to enhance their learning experience into something that is more palpable, that's more palatable. And I think that's where the key to rethinking education lies, I think.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. While you were talking all of this, before Masters Union, uh, it is a lot of times it is about holding a degree from an institute that gives you a validation.
Mm-hmm,
And I recently had a word with Mr. Sri Lalan Iyer, who is the core team member of NASCOM.
mm-hmm,
My last podcast was with him, and I kind of asked, wanted to understand what's the difference between, let's say, you're getting education in IMM, or sorry, IIM and ISBs of the world, and then a regular management college. He said
mm-hmm,
that more or less the curriculum is same. There are a few
mm-hmm,
extra activities that you get. A student can also try to learn all these things of their own, but it is a lot to do with signaling.
mm-hmm,
Right. So you signal that you are from IIM, you're from IIM A or B, and you might be that smart, and that signaling also brings a lot of synergy from the people around you, the companies that are coming to have you, and so on and so forth. Do you think that if we try to do some kind of, as you said, reinventing the entire K-12 space,
mm-hmm.
it will be more than getting a 10th certificate or 12th certificate that I finally passed my school and I'm good to go for college, but it
Mm-hmm.
will become the way Masters Union is trying to do. It will become more about learning and excellence, and then maybe you can redefine the entire education system and understand it's not about just job. It's not about even getting smart, feeling smart. It's just that
Mm-hmm.
understanding the right things in the right way, that is very important, and then figuring out what you want to do. You have to be smart enough to also understand.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little segue. Another podcast with Mr. Samir Sathe, and he kind of told us that uh, taking right decision is also a skill that a lot of people has to teach their children. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just teachers; it's just it's parents also. So these kind of things also come into play. So my
Right.
question was this: do you think if we reinvent this entire space, it will not be again about passing and getting admissions in certain colleges, rather being smart in understanding your own worth and what you are really?
Right. So, okay. So let's try to delve a little deeper in the first bit of what you said, right? The signaling bit, for example.
Right.
And I have a lot to say there also. Sorry, I have a lot to say on a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
education things. So, um, I've heard this from multiple people, right? I've heard this from India heads of various brilliant Fortune 500 companies, where when I ask them why is it that you go to an IMABC to hire, um, um, why is it that you only go there? And a lot of them genuinely don't have an answer per se to that. It's the signal answer that I hear. It's only when I was speaking to Mr. Arun Myra, who in back in the day was the India head for BCG, that I genuinely got an understanding of what do they mean by a signal. And he really explained it very well to me. And his thought was very simple. He said, I want two things any company wants, right? The first thing that they want is smart folks, street smart, as we were defining in the last sort of segment. The second are people who are really genuinely hardworking, right? When you go into an IM ABC, you don't just signal to the world that you're street smart, but you signal to the world that you consistently can show up. You are really hardworking, because it's not that you only need to have one good cat day, but you have to do well in your 10th, in your 12th, in your undergrad, at your workplace, in the CAT, in the GDPI. Then, there, in once you enter that space with 400 plus students who are very similar to you in their journey, etc., you have to constantly keep working hard to even stay afloat sometimes. And that is the signal that they pick. They are not just picking people who are smart on paper, they are picking people who are really good at consistently showing up, at working really hard again for consistent years, right? And then who are smart, right? So that
Right.
is that's the signal that being from an IIM or an IIT or any good institute really carries for you. However, if you start to redefine education, you would have to, because the entire ecosystem around it has to adapt to it, you will have to start to rethink signaling. For example, for me, somebody who worked on an entrepreneurial venture for 3 years that did not succeed is a very big signal of the person consistently working hard, because the person was at it for 3 years, trying to work genuinely hard to make his first buck. Even if he failed, he shows resilience, he shows showing up, he shows consistency, he shows hard work, he shows a lot of these traits that an organization must find, right? Right now, the signaling from IIT IIM is genuinely us making the job easier for a recruiter, because they don't have to take it on themselves that we found a
Right.
person that is wrong, right? That's what they are trying to do there. We have to rethink this entire idea. And I get that signaling is important, because that's how pragmatically they can shortlist people, the practicality of it. However, we need to start thinking of signals beyond brands, right? We have to start thinking of people in a more holistic term. So for example, entrepreneurship is one way. Any form of showcasing your skill sets, which could be, let's say, a product management jobs are really big in the market right now. The market's flooded with them, right? Can you showcase that you will be good as a product manager with a portfolio? Absolutely, right? Show people that you can create wireframes, show people that you can create an app, show people that you can create an product analytical strategy, show people that you can create a GTM strategy for a product. There are so many ways in which you can signal that you will be good for a job. We have to start thinking of signals beyond brands. I think that's where, and I'm very glad to report that at least at management education level, and that's precisely why Masters Union sometimes ends up getting better jobs, is because the students are able to signal this, even if they are not getting this degree from a really reputed school, which of course I'm not going to deny, they have so many pluses, right? I was at two of these institutions. I have learned massively there. But in a way, you so I understand that you invited me today because I'm at Masters Union, but 3 years ago when Masters Union was nothing, you would have still invited me because I was at IIM Bangalore or ISB,
Right.
right? Because for you also it signaled that maybe, okay, this person would talk sense, right? And
Right.
we can't deny that. Those signals are also good enough signals. But just saying that there needs to be a bigger list of signals that we start to look at, right? For
Right.
funding, um, for jobs, for everything, right? It's an equally big problem for startup kids to pick up funding, right? Because if they are not coming from a great school, it's very difficult for them to convince VCs that they are hardworking and they're going to do this, etc. So the
Yes.
signal is not just a problem with jobs; it's also a problem with raising funds. It's also a problem with going abroad to study further. It's also a problem with trying to find a girl that you want to marry because you're not from a big brand. And
Right.
that's a mindset shift that needs to happen. I think the signaling bit, we've been very constrained in that when we are looking at signals as just brands. We
Right.
need to think beyond, I think.
So I guess what you're saying is we can redefine the signaling itself.
Of course,
What does
make
this?
the list bigger. Why
Right.
why must the list only be just a brand or
Right.
just a
Right.
percentage?
It can be the traits as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that is an easier shift to make. Because if you remember, like I don't know your age, so I'm not gonna ask this to you on a bigger platform. But
I'm
when
28.
I okay, you're quite young. But when so let's say when I was doing 12th, and when I was um I think in school, high school, things had still started to open up. But when my older sibling was doing school, the only two things that you should have done was MBBS or engineering, and anything else that you did would be a waste of your parents' money. And then
Right.
he's 6 years older than me, and then I came along, and then people had started opening up to this idea of doing many more things, but still it was. So for example, I remember asking my dad if he'll be okay if I did like a fashion degree, and being a middle class kid, my dad was like, no, absolutely not. No fashion degree. Yeah, you have to stay in academic sort of route. But cut to that, for few years later, my cousin's been doing degrees in music, and been doing degrees in God knows what, in design, in writing, all of that, and it's great, right? Though that's a change, that's a generational change that is coming in, with our idea of signaling, with our idea of what's good,
Yes.
what's bad. So I genuinely don't think that the change in signaling would be that hard a thing to come by. I think Masters Union in itself is one path breaking place, where now the signal is, we don't give a degree out yet, and yet the signaling is pretty strong. So I think the signal bit will change very easily. I think that is not a very big change to make.
Right, right. No, makes sense. Makes sense. So okay. The question was also this, that if we
Mm-hmm.
try to reinvent the K-12 space or the early education space, then as you said, we can make a better list of signaling just than the
Yeah,
grades and the the
yeah.
test grades and the kind of schools that they're coming from and so on and so forth. But if
Mm-hmm.
the list is long and there are a lot of checks on the list, you can redefine, and even the person can become more confident,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and be be part of a better world that everyone is creating around them.
Yeah.
uh okay, so this is one side of it. Now let's talk about, a lot of people are studying. I mean, somewhere I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, you are definitely very good at stats, way better than me. 29 to 30% of market contribution, I mean, of the education, if we count it like a pie, kind of 33% is coming from schools.
Mm-hmm.
9 to 10% is just colleges. So what's happening are, let's say 30 people are going to college, I mean schools, and then only 9 are going to universities. Is it that a lot of people are not pursuing higher education?
See, it's true, but this data that you're talking about is more, so see, at global levels the data is even more skewed. At an Indian level, because the government makes it, um, uh, the government has tried to make schooling accessible to a different sort of strata of people, and therefore people are doing decently okay with finishing up schooling, however they do it, right? You must have seen 12th fail, and the entire sort of side of things, where exams and how they are written, in some of these schools to barely pass through, etc. And that's a different set of problem that I am not really qualified to talk, which is the policy side of education. um, but but yeah, that is true. In fact, it's roughly a decent number to believe that one in third three people actually end up going to colleges, currently. And the bigger problem is how many of those that go to college actually end up getting a job, and that number
I
is
was
is
coming to
much
that.
lower. And I
Yeah.
think that is a bigger problem, that is a bigger concern, because if you're not going to college, I'm assuming that you're going to be working within that skill that you have developed, in your schooling, etc. But if you're going to college for a specific course, you are trying to build that skill. So why is it that you're not getting a job? There could be two reasons. One, there are no jobs in that space, right? In which case, one must question whether that degree is an important degree to do or not. And the second is, well, there are jobs, but you're not able to crack that job because you're not able to showcase the skill that was required, because your education was not designed in a way that it helps build that skill. It was just designed in a way that you need to maintain some credits, right? And the second one is a bigger problem, because the first
Right.
one, with how Indian economy is growing, I don't see the first one happening in any space right now. Yeah, because there is plenty of opportunity right now across sort of verticals, across different geographies. Even smaller sort of non-tier one cities now have great job offerings if you don't want to step away from home, etc. So the first one, with how well we are developing as a country, is not seemingly a very big problem for me. The second one is because A, it's the kid is investing a lot of time in learning something and not getting the output for that. And B, it's a simple fix, which we are not doing. It's not even a very expensive fix, right? So what stops us from letting the industry define what we should teach? I think that's a very big sort of question mark that we need to answer at a higher education level.
Right, right. So if the number is shocking when it comes to the ratio of, people going to colleges and then getting jobs, the number
Mhm.
would be even screwed when we see a number people going to, I mean, the ratio of kids going to school versus getting a job. So there's going to be a great gap there. But
Mhm.
and you said the problem is second.
Yeah. The
So
first one was the first problem that I said was there are not enough jobs in the
right,
space. That is the first one. The second one is, well, there are jobs, but you're not able to get them, right? And in my opinion, the second one is a problem because the first one, A, I don't think that in the Indian context, there are a lot of domains where jobs are going downwards because we are a very fastly growing economy. And therefore, there's a lot of scope in the first sort of space. Second thing, even if we don't have, even if you don't have that space, there's still an entrepreneurial sort of direction that you can take, right? But in the second case, which is you don't you've spent time learning something. Yeah, I spent time learning how to be a great let's say great coder. Yeah, and there are a lot of jobs, but I'm still not getting one. I think
right,
that's a very big problem. That's a very big problem.
right.
And I
So
think sorry, you were
yeah,
saying?
yeah, no, please.
No, my train of thought was going into why, and I think yeah, that's again something that's very bigger challenge to unravel. I think one is that we need to start communicating more with what is the requirement of the industry, right? You need to start developing curriculums that speak with what is in demand in the industry. But at the same time, your trainers need to be the kind of people who are very willing to relearn and unlearn and relearn and unlearn. Because if I specifically talk about technology, it's changing every 6-8 months, right?
right,
Like last time I designed a course, there was no chat GPT. And within the year now, I have to redesign that course in order to incorporate that now students have access to chat GPT, right? How do you then um, teach that skill to them? And maybe earlier it used to take 30 hours to teach that skill. Now it'll probably take only 20. And that's a great thing, right?
right.
That's freeing up human potential to do things that require human intervention. I don't see any of these technological supports as something that's negative. Yes, there are certain aspects to which um, they might reduce learning in a way that students are not thinking enough, in which case, you can make it explicitly and abundantly clear that this is a skill that we want you to develop, and that problem solving skill set, ChatGPT should not be solving that for you, you should be solving that. But for example, correcting a code, right? I've written a code, it's not doing what I was expecting it to do. If ChatGPT can help me correct for it, I don't see something extremely wrong with it.
Right.
While you should learn how to code, etc., you should know how to build the structure, the architecture of the code. You should know the components that go into it, what objects you need to create, etc. You really don't need to spend hours and hours and hours reworking it to make it um, seem very usable, I think.
Yeah, it's I guess harnessing the power of the large languages. I mean, in a right way, as you said, it is
Yeah, any
important for.
technology, right?
Yeah,
Any
yeah, yeah.
technology. So
Makes sense.
I remember when we were in, I remember being in undergrad school, and I used to have this language called C++. And in our exam, which used to be, it was a computer language that we used to give written exam for, tragic. Uh, if you wouldn't add a comma or like a dot, you will get like marks cut for it, right? There is something back in the day, there was something in coding languages called indentation. if there isn't this much space, and you're writing this on paper, by the way, not computer, you're writing a
Okay.
computer code on paper to give that exam. And then you used to always wonder as to what is it that I'm really trying to learn here, right? And it it's almost comical to me right now that that's how I learned my first language. I now know like 8+ languages, but I still go back thinking that the first language that I learned was a computer language that I learned on paper, right? And I used to get marks deduction for not adding a comma or a dot. And really, like, that is such a wastage of time now. And that's so great that there exists now um, all of these tools that you can use to supplement your learning, right? I was speaking to one of the industry thought leaders very recently, and he gave a very brilliant point, right? And he said that, Nandini, the people who come out with the best output are the ones that have great input,
Right.
right? And chat gpt is so great to give you inputs. If I want to talk to you about um edtech, right? Let's say just edtech, and I want to make sense. If let's say I'm somebody who has never worked in the edtech space, and this I'm starting up fresh, either I can go read books about it, or I can Google things about it, or I can hear podcasts about it, or I can watch videos about it, or I can tell chat gpt to tell me the 10 most pressing problems in edtech right now,
Right.
or tell me the size of the edtech industry right now, or tell me the biggest players of the edtech industry right now, to tell me why Baiju's valuation was cut down 90% right now. And it'll do all of that for me. That's
Right.
great input, right? If I have that much input, imagine the quality of output that I can generate. Because um, from being so traditional, just maybe a decade ago, where you had to go to a library, find the right book, read that book, or maybe the internet was also a space that was very restricted. You've now come to a place where, while going in the metro, you can be hearing a podcast which is telling you everything that you need to know about an industry. You can be an expert within an hour, which would
Right.
take people months of reading and finding, that's very joyful, right? And that's very valuable, which we are probably not utilizing. We're so focused on all that chat gpt and llms are doing wrong. I just keep using chat gpt because that's the most prominent
Yeah,
one, but
known.
in general, llms or any ai enabled tools, we're so focused on what they are doing wrong that we force to sort of we just refuse to see what they can potentially do right. And I think that's where as an educator, or as a faculty, I find so much joy in bringing that to the classroom, and having people say that, hey, listen, just open your laptops, fire up chat gpt and ask them this question, and then have a conversation around it. It's brilliant.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Even ChatGPT is generating new jobs like prompt engineers.
Yeah.
Uh, in our office, we have few people who are trying to become a prompt engineer. They're kind of very good at. So you have to be smart enough to use ChatGPT. You can be dumb enough to
Oh, yeah,
use
yeah, yeah,
ChatGPT
yeah.
in the worst way
Absolutely.
possible. You can do that.
Absolutely. 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 So I keep um telling my students that, there is a right way to use chat gpt and there's a wrong way to use chat gpt, and the wonderful part is most of you are doing it wrong, so might as
Right.
well listen to me in the classroom so that you can at least do it right. I think that's very important. um
That's right. That's
but
right.
but some again, so I'll tell you, right? While when I acknowledge that yes, there is a right and a wrong way to use chat gpt, I wanted to learn what is the right way to use chat gpt. How do you actually write a good prompt? And what it took me 1 hour, right? I found out some videos. There was a LinkedIn course that was available for free on prompt engineering, and I did that, and I could learn to use it to my advantage within just 1.5 hours. That is powerful. That's very powerful stuff, that you can have an hour to spare and you're able to build a skill set in 1 hour, right?
Right.
A skill set that you can use to do your daily tasks better.
Right.
And I think that's how we need to see. anything, ChatGPT or AI tools in general. It's 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 what internet was to us when we were growing up. That's what LLMs are going to be for the generation right after us, I think.
Yeah, no, no. As you said, I'm young. I'm not that old. I feel it in my office because our average age of our entire ecosystem is like 24, 25. So I feel that I'm a
Hmm.
kind of an uncle here. But when I see people like you, I feel that I'm still young. I remember those days when you used to go to cyber cafes to use our Facebook IDs and log in and
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
our
I
friends that
remember.
be online for 6 p.m. and we'll be there. We'll chat
Absolutely.
together. You know,
Yeah,
pay
I think
10 rupees.
that's I think this idea of age is very nuanced. I remember I used to have a faculty when I was at IIM who was 63 years old. And when somebody would ask him, how old are you and all that, he'd say, I'm 63 years young, right? And he would always say that the reason, so he had like a huge corporate job in the America, like in California, I think, and he had a PhD from a great school. I think he went to London School of Economics or something, and he came back to India to be a faculty, which felt like a very odd decision to make. So a lot of people asked him as to why he chose that, and his response was very simple, right? When you stay around young people, you stay young because you're
Right.
constantly learning from them. You're constantly hearing the vocabulary that they are using. You're constantly a part of that, and he loved doing that, and that's why he became a faculty. I think I say that a lot to people. I I am I'm 33. My students are 18. That 15-year gap is sometimes something that I learn so much out of, and I think that's so brilliant. I
Oh
love
yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, I thought that I used to love sneakers, but then there was a guy in our office who told me, "No, you are a sneakerhead," and I got to know that I am a sneakerhead. I didn't knew that I'm a sneakerhead. I just thought that I liked sneakers. So
Yeah.
all these things come. Yeah, very very true. Okay, so very excited now. Finally, I wanted to talk about what Masters Union is doing. We all have heard, Pratham, we all have heard, different things going around. That there are, my team was talking about it, that you guys kind of send your students to, let's say, Sarojini, buy some stuff, and then, drop shipping, and, so let's talk about it. How do you guys define your curriculum? Uh, if you can get some insights about it,
Hmm.
what do you do and why do you do that? And what are the potential outcomes that you see out of it?
Hmm. Right. So, if I can break down a student's curriculum, so let me break it down into academic and non-academic things firstly, right? So consider these two big broad heads. One is the academic, one is the non-academic. On the academic side, it's broken down into two places. One is the in class, one is the out class. In class
Okay.
is the standard approach of a one to many delivery, right? Which is a classroom setup where there are defined subjects and the class runs for, let's say, 20 hours or something. For example, again, I'm going to take my context. So, a statistics for business classroom, which is essentially a part of all B schools across the globe. In term one, term two, you get a statistics for business or a quant theory for business course, right? At Masters Union, also, we would run the same course for 20 hours in term one as an in class course. But the 20 hours of delivery will not be done in a lecture format where I am standing and I'm just talking and people are taking notes and then there is an exam. But A, the time the course was designed, it was vetted by 10, 12 industry experts who are in the data science, who are in the management domain, to see that the topics that have been picked up are actually relevant topics. B, when we go into the classroom, the idea is to potentially deliver content in a way that students will be able to recollect. For example, I go to my classroom and play cards. That's a very popular thing that I do, and a lot of
You
students
play
know about.
cards.
Yeah, I play cards. I play like Teen Patti to teach them probability theory.
Oh, you actually
Yeah,
play cards.
I
Oh,
actually
okay.
play cards in the classroom. I actually play cards in the classroom. I show them Big Bang Theory in the classroom. We We look at videos from Avengers and estimate if when Dr. Strange said that there are 1 billion chances of us winning the war. What does that actually mean? What does that probability number actually mean? We do simulations. We work on Excel. We try to evaluate, what will be the potential um, opening price for a particular share the next morning. Those kinds of things that we do to learn a lot about statistics, right? So that is the 20-hour course, and at these points, the kind of evaluations that we tend to do are a combination of hands-on learning experiences and some maybe in um, sort of solving questions format based. So that is potentially what your in-class learning experience looks like. But within that, we have a lot of domains to explore. There is product management, digital and e-commerce businesses, advanced data analytics, banking, PEVC, very conventional management domains being sort of supplemented and complementary to something which are very contemporary and very much in demand in the industry. So that's your in-class academic experience. Then there is your out-class academic experience. I think the most brilliant output for Masters Union so far, which is that while you're learning everything in the classroom, until and unless you apply those learnings to something, it's very, very hard for you to recollect it. We want you to learn by doing. So for example, if you've learned how supply chains work in your operations management class in the morning, you run a drop shipping business. A drop shipping business essentially is where you don't keep any stocks. There is a vendor that you actually tie up with, and you only have to generate enough business, and whenever there is somebody buys your product, that vendor is going to send that product directly. So you don't hold any inventory, so there is no cost for holding it. But you have to potentially be very, very cognizant of how the supply chain is going to work, what price negotiations you need to do, what is the kind of lead time, how do you assure good quality, how do you market your product so that you're able to generate those orders, etc. So in a way, you're learning marketing, negotiations, and operations in the classroom and in class, and then applying all of that by running an actual dropshipping business that you generate money from, right? And that is also an evaluated component of the course, which is what we call the outclass academic experience, where every term they have to do something different, and they have to learn how they have to apply the skill sets that they have learned in the class in these outclass challenges in order to solidify that learning experience for them, in order to then seal it down that, okay, fine, I learned marketing, I used marketing, and now I know how to do this, right? That's your sort of academic experience. And then in the non-academic experience also, which is I'm using the term non-academic very loosely because in a way that is also somewhere academic, is something called CXO lessons, for example, right? Within the CXO lesson space, we have about 3 invited guests every day, which could be either CTO, CXO, CEO, CTO, COO, CDO, CPO level people who will come and discuss a particular topic in greater details with the students and engage in a one-on-one or a one-to-many conversation depending on the specialization. There could be also industry insight session. For example, we very recently hosted a few sustainability entrepreneurs to come in and speak about what essentially a sustainability entrepreneurship really means. How do they raise fund? How do they identify problem statements, etc.? So there is that sort of space where you interact with masters, you interact with industry experts in trying to learn either an industry in depth or a problem statement and solution in depth. So it's almost like a live case study that you're discussing with the actual person who is the decision maker there. So that kind of an experience is also a part of the student learning journey. And then finally, there is this entire space of, career support, career enhancement, practicums, etc., which are really, really just focused on trying to help you build that portfolio, for example, that we spoke about, that if you can showcase, if you can send the right signal how can you use these classroom exercises, this outclass exercise, this CXO, put it all together into something that can showcase that there's a skill that I'm really great at, and then there is
Right.
that entire space that helps them do that. So it's all of these four verticals put together that I think contribute to the academic success at Masters Union.
That also reflects that you have already created a long list of identifying the right signals.
Yes, potentially. We keep adding to that list, but yes, we do. We see, I think the best thing that we try to do, and something that all educational institutions should continue to do, is have genuine, open conversations with the industry, right? We are very open to feedback. If our students don't end up getting a job, we really get into a room with that company and try to understand what was the skill set that was missing in the student, so that even if it's not this student, maybe it's a learning for the next batch, but what are the other skill sets that we can teach, or what are the other skill set that the student can build on, so that they end up getting jobs, right? We are so appraised with what is happening in the industry across domains that we will try to keep bringing that in these conversations, in the classroom, in the outclass, in everything, where you want to make the student learn so much that there is no chance that the student doesn't end up getting a job. It's not even
Right.
about placement from Masters Union. Like, if I now let my student be in the open sort of space trying to find a job for themselves, which is a lot of what happens in Western schools, right? Your Ivy Leagues, your in the America don't assure you a placement. They just
Right.
say that we're going to help you build your skill set, your profile to such an extent that you'll easily find a job. That's what we're potentially trying to do.
Makes sense.
Right. We right now only the placement bit is basically playing the same game as others are playing because you have to, right? But
Right.
but the goal is not that. The goal is to shift that mindset from looking at placements as just an outcome and not as the input. The input has to be good quality. The outcome will eventually become good quality on its own.
Yeah. So students are not just focusing on that very particular thing, rather they become, as we call it, as you said, street smart, and then they can decide whether do I want this job or that job, or do I even want a job, or I want to do something of my own, which is a lot what your you know I mean entire core is all about, that I can
Yeah,
sense.
but they can also do it in one domain, for example. For example, there could be a student who wants to get like a data science job, for example. They can continue to take all, so they'll do all management courses in the in class. They will do all electives that are advanced data analytics electives in the in class. Within the out class for drop shipping, they would be the ones who are managing and handling the data. When there is a
Okay.
startup opportunity, they are the ones who will be working with data. There is a consulting opportunity, they will be the ones taking up only data consulting opportunities, right? In the CXO lessons, they will only be attending those CXO lessons where there is a conversation around data, or a case around data, or the company is around data, or the domain
Okay.
is that. And again, with the CEP or the career services team, they will be helping develop that. What competitions should I be a part of, so that that shows on my CV? What kind of extra courses can I do that it becomes a part of my CV? So it's not that you have to become a generalist. That's nowhere the intent. If you want to be specific in a particular domain, in a particular industry, by all means, it's a buffet offering, right? You pick out what you think is something that you want to eat. And I think that is the beauty. You can basically you can personalize or customize the entire course according to what you really want out of that. So if there are
Right.
students who genuinely wants to take an entrepreneurial journey, we have an entire system that we run, which is called the Venture Initiation Program, and wherein you can transfer credits from in class to out class and genuinely work on building on your startup. And we give you an entire ecosystem that helps support you with entrepreneurs in residence, with support from VCs, with building connections in the industry, with helping you set up the legal entity for your company, etc. So all of that support, which is an almost an in-house incubator, if I may. Right. So it depends on what you want to take away from the journey. And the team really sits down with you with 200 plus folks. We do a one-on-one in trying to understand what is your primary, tertiary domain that you would want to work on? What is the kind of life you envision for yourself? What are your career aspirations? What are your personal aspirations? What kind of courses then you should be taking? What kind of activities that you should be engaging in? What kind of clubs you should be a part of? Everything is mapped out for a single person, right? Going back to my earlier argument that there's no one good system for everybody.
Right.
It has to be in a way um, tailored to an individual, and I think that is a very, very big plus of being at a place like Masters Union, that it lets you tailor this journey for yourself.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. So I guess it has been four cohorts for you: 2021, 2022, 2023, and now
We are in the
2024.
fourth cohort. Yes, we are in
And
the
the
fourth
fourth
cohort. The
one.
fourth cohort still has their term 4 going on.
Okay, okay. So when you see from first, let's say, and till fourth, what are the things that you kind of learn in the first one, and then uh, that worked in that you kind of tweaked, and then it became better.
There's massive learning, right? There is so much learning. I think we as a principal, so I don't know, right? If you I think there's a lot of popular conjuncture about us that we work at a startup space. Like the pace at which we are working on is very tech startup, and which is true. I am not
Yeah,
going to deny that, right? And one of the core features of a tech startup is this principle of agile, right?
right,
And agile principle essentially says you build with the customer. So every single time you do something, you go to the customer, you show them the feature, you take the feedback, you reiterate, and it's an iterative process of building a product that is going to be an excellent product eventually, right? And I think I do see Masters Union as something like that. So with cohort 1, we did a few experiments, learned our lessons on for example, outclass was a concept that has evolved so much over the last 4 cohorts. We've learned so much on how much handholding should be done and how much you should let the students work on their own. There has to be like an optimal match of them finding support with us, but also at the same time for us to not spoon feed everything to them, right? Because
right,
then it's not sustainable. There have been a lot of learnings in terms of what courses to offer, what should be the right duration of courses. There's been a lot of learning in what kind of students we want on the campus. There's a lot of learning on what kind of CXOs we want to bring in. The overall, I think, journey is still work in progress for a student. I'd say that we are maybe 90% there, but that 10% scope will always be there because there has to be a constant sense of improvement that we keep redoing, right? And we always say that the only thing that we are going to the only core value that we will align with as Masters Union is change.
right.
And uh, and if tomorrow the technology changes drastically, I want to inculcate that in this year. So I don't think we'll ever have a stable this is what our curriculum is going to look like. I think that's not the intent, in fact. This
Right.
year around, we have so many courses that are around AI and LLMs, etc. We did not have those last year, right? And hopefully next year will be some other technology. We are a technology B school at the end of the day. So as technology evolves, our curriculum, our experiences need to evolve. So I think very hard to pinpoint one or two things, because I think we constantly keep working on improving, and constantly keep trying to rethink how one thing can be made even better than the
No,
last year.
I'm sure that's where the value system is driven from, for you, and that's where everything else is coming for you. Okay. Because you're working in a setup where it's not just the agile education system that you are creating, but it's a agile student ecosystem that you also have around you. So when we talk about entrepreneur, and spirit of entrepreneur is very important, that kind of understanding, that competitiveness, and yet being on your toes no matter what is happening, always taking learning and so on and so forth. uh, there are a lot of bubbles that were created in the last 2-3 years for Indian startup ecosystem, and a lot of them burst very soon. So like in 2-3 years they came and they went off. um, what do you think were the problem? I mean, I'm trying to connect the dots with the education here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not talking about the ideation was the problem, the VC culture and the money came and then it went, not that.
Mm-hmm.
Was there something that could be changed in the education to make better entrepreneurs for future?
Mm-hmm.
And where does the change journey starts from? Is it only in the graduation, or it happens before that, or it can be done before that also?
To answer the second part first, it can be done before that. I think what I so we do this exercise with our students, right, which is called the sanity checks on the problem and the solution, where we make them think through their problem that they have. So the one basic thing which all entrepreneurs have is and I will put it as crudely as the I have heard some of my co-entrepreneurs put it is, आपको अपनी प्रॉब्लम से प्यार हो जाता है, राइट? आपको अपने आइडिया से प्यार हो जाता है, एंड देन यू डोंट वांट टू लिसन टू एनीथिंग. You constantly trying to find data to validate your problem, and it almost becomes a solution in search of a problem rather than a problem that you're trying to address for customers, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of startups go wrong there, a lot of entrepreneurs go wrong there. उनमें fight का कमी नहीं होता है. They are not lacking on technical skills, they are not lacking on fight, they are mostly not lacking on funds to begin with, they are not lacking on a good team. I think people have gotten to a stage where they're able to identify the right set of partners, even though there is a very good 54% of startups actually the partnerships break. So that is something that again is
Is
something
it an
that can be
Indian
taught.
stats or a global stats?
It's an Indian stat.
Indian.
You don't I think that again it again goes back to that K-12 thing where I was talking to you about how do you collaborate, how do you work with teams, is
Right.
something that is not taught to you in school. Everything is individually evaluated in school, and then you come to college and the first time you hear about group projects is when you are in college. And you will often hear people complain about उस बच्चे ने काम नहीं किया, इधर नहीं हुआ, उधर नहीं हुआ, we
Yes.
couldn't find time and all of that. You have to start early. You have to start early on teaching people how to work within teams, how to collaborate, how to communicate when you need somebody's help. And that goes beyond just startups and learning. It even flows into mental health. People don't ask for help, right? Even young kids don't ask for help. And sometimes it leads to outcomes where you wish that they asked for help, right?
Right.
So those are again skills that can be built very early on. And I think when it comes to the core sort of skills that education can deliver on teaching people how to do startups, one of the biggest one is how you should and could do good market research, right? So good first hand market research. How do you potentially talk to all your customers? How do you pivot from your actual idea after speaking with customers and after analyzing that data, and seeing that this is genuinely what is needed versus not needed, for you to learn enough about human behavior so that you can think of whether your solution is actually trying to change a behavior or not, because that will impact how people will adopt your product or not,
Right.
right? Those are all very trainable skills that we miss out on, I think. I think business degrees even at an undergraduate level should be teaching you these things. So behavioral design, gamification, design thinking, um, collaboration and negotiations, how to find the right partner for yourself, both in life and as a business partner. Very, very good things that can be codified and taught in a classroom, I think.
Yeah. So that is about, it can all be, I mean, some of it can also be solved by uh, working on it before, way before than we are right now working on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. There's actually, I had a lot of questions, but in all of this, I've taken so many nuggets, and I don't want all of them to move out of my brain. So my questions are just getting covered up with the kind of things that I'm taking away from the session. So maybe the last question for the session is,
Mhm.
uh, I'm in the tier one right now. I don't want to name the city. Okay, let's say I'm in Gurgaon.
Mhm.
So um, good
We
school.
could have done this in person. We're
Oh
around, yeah.
yes, we could have done this in person, but the 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 difficulty level that we achieved in this podcast to schedule this
No,
podcast, I thought let's
it's
just do it
only
this way.
no, but it's only about finding time on my calendar. Then it's okay. Then it can be anywhere. I think.
I can always drop by your office. By the way, one quick thing, I am sure our viewers already know this, but I was shocked when I heard this that the college itself is in Cyber City.
Oh yes, we
So
are in Cyber Park,
you're in
DLF
Cyber
Cyber
Park.
Park. Yeah.
Right, right. So, I mean, that's not a college space at all. But
No, that's a
yeah,
very well thought out reason for that, right? There's a lot of cross pollination that happens when you're operating in business parks. Students are getting to meet industry leaders even when they're in the lift. You go for a chai sutta break. You're able to like talk to people who are like working in companies across, right? And it's a
right,
very well
right,
thought out decision to do it. That's the reason why we're able to get so many CXOs and so many masters to come and teach, is because it's easy for them, right? Sometimes you just have to take a lift down, teach a class, and go back up. You can do it in your lunchtime. A lot of people do
Oh,
that,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
They
yeah.
don't have any travel time, they don't have any effort that needs to, so you have to solve for resistance, right? And I think the location is uh, the best decision that Pratham has taken to date on setting up Masters Union, which it's the location. I think it's
Oh, yeah, I heard him in the podcast, and he kind of said that I remember there are a lot of people just take a lift and just attend the session, and I mean give the
yeah,
session, and then they go back to their office.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a smart decision. I mean, another example of agile and work. I mean, lesser the resistance, more the output. Basic engineering is what
See,
we are talking about.
it's all first order principles.
Right,
It's
right,
always the first order principles. It's never more complicated than that. Whatever I said about education in today's talk or in general that I speak about, if you'll genuinely sit back and think of and this is also something that I learned from one of the core team members at Masters Union, and he would often say that um, think about a problem in a way that if you had no constraints at all, neither financial nor political nor resistance nor no constraints at all, how would you solve that problem if there were no constraints? And then start to introduce constraints. So you'll go from like a very radical, um, absolutely great solution to a really good solution still.
right.
But take that thought process. Don't think of what is happening right now, because that will be super constrained and it'll never let you think from a fresh start. Think of, so if I was to ask you that, Sagar, you can start a school right now and people will send their kids to the school, there will be no restrictions on political or board things, and people will pay as much money as you want them to pay. What kind of school would you like to build? Your answer will be very different from what a traditional CBSE, ICSE school looks like. Very
Right.
different, right? You would say, okay, I'm going to build smaller classrooms. I'm going to get really trained faculty. I'm going to build in all these things that you said, problem solving, communication as part of workshops in my school. Then I would like to teach maths at a certain age, science at a certain age. If you did not have any constraint, how would you think about a problem? And I think that's the crazy place where Masters Union also started. If there were no constraints, nahi chahiye accreditation, nahi chahiye ye, nahi chahiye wo, how would you do it? And then you start to introduce these constraints, but you still end up with something that's wonderful.
That makes a lot of sense, Nandini. There is a reason you guys are part of the core team, which is again the same keyword, agile, and is trying to break through the the biggest of the norms, which is education. I mean, you touch education, and you have so many resistance around you. But good that we have you, and a lot of people know about you now. That's even better. I heard Pratham's podcast, and he said that for the first cohort, he himself took the call and kind of asked students, found out who were amongst the good students, good GMAT scorers, and all these good CAT scorers, and he kind of called all of them and wanted to have them on board. From that to now, people knowing you and applying um, for Masters Union. So it kind of, I know how it feels to you, but just by aligning with the idea, I feel that it's just too good. It is too awesome to be around, and it is happening in my country. This is just awesome.
And
Okay.
a lot of people are following suit, so I think that's great. A lot of people are starting to
Yeah.
do the same thing, and I love that, right? I think that it's so wonderful that a lot of these other schools that are very similar in concept to Masters Union are coming up.
Right.
Mesa has come up, Scalar has come up, Physics Wala is doing similar things, and so many, plenty others, right?
Right.
And to them, I think not just me, but any core team members, open offer is if we can help with anything, we are a call away, right? Because Masters Union as an ideology has to be bigger than just Masters Union. It's a movement. It's not a college, right? And I think I take that away, and I give a lot of credit of that to Pratham, because he has always told us that if anybody reaches out to you for help, don't think that we need to keep our intellectual property to ourselves. Give it away. If you have something good, give it away. If we've worked on an outclass sort of curriculum that is great, give it to other people to use it. The more people will use it, the better there will be like output for the students. And at the end, at the heart of everything, there is benefit of the students, right? It's not business. It's not reinventing the wheel. It's nothing of that sort. It's at the end of the day, is my student learning enough? Is my student able to take away what I want him to take away? If yes, then the job is done. Whether he does it through Masters Union, whether he does it through another alternate B school, or whether someday, which is my genuine hope, that all these established institutions try to start picking up certain aspects from this sort of space. If they do it, nobody
That's
would
the
be
win.
happier than the core team. Like, I think it's genuinely a very heartful thing to see if people try to do similar things.
No, no, makes sense. I guess that's what Henry Ford might have said to their employees and their core team, and they were kind of building up a lot of things that they could have, put their patent and copyright on things, and then nobody ever had seat belts. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love this kind of ideology, and there's a lot of synergy between the understanding. That's why I can feel what you're feeling. Not to that extent, but yes, uh, there is something that is happening to me. But anyways, so now what I was talking about is, uh, even when there are such institutes like Masters Union, like other MISA, and as you said, Physics Wala and other scalar, everyone is trying to build in their own space. Tier twos and tier threes, which are the bigger chunk,
Mm-hmm.
uh, are still left behind. As you said, that if you try to go to tier two and tier three and try to inculcate this in their system, it will be harder. Uh, I don't want you to, you know, I mean, go deeper in this, but on the primary education side of it, let's say if I have a school, what should I do uh,
Mm-hmm.
to make my student smart so that they can understand what they want to do and what they don't want to do, at least in making better decision for themselves, and then eventually maybe can train themselves to be part of Masters Union of the world, or I mean, they can decide what they want to do, whether they even want to
Yeah,
go for this or not.
yeah. I think two very simple solutions. One is train your teachers better. Invest a little more time and energy and money into training your teachers better, right? School teachers are um, underpaid, overworked, and nobody invests time and energy in their learning. They do their B.Eds and M.Ed degrees, and they start to teach. And after that, none of them end up doing any workshops. I think the schools that I have end up seeing do really, really well, whether it's tier one or tier two, or the best of boarding schools, really invest in their teachers. Their teachers are constantly learning new things, and because they are constantly learning new things, they want to teach the students those things. Their teachers are really genuinely happy doing what they are doing. Because they're genuinely happy doing what they are doing, they put in a lot more effort in their classrooms. um, it's like how a happy mother will raise a happy child. A happy teacher will raise a happy classroom, and a smart teacher will raise a smart classroom, right? So invest in teachers. Teachers are being looked at as a resource where they are trying to, their entire 8 hours, they don't have breathing space right now. And this is tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, all schools, right? They they are uh, paid lesser than a chat GPT prompt engineer sometimes, and they are expected to slog for 8 hours. And the expectation is that they'll do it with a smile on their face. It's great. There's a social aspect to what they do, which I hope brings them joy, which is that they are teaching kids how to be better and how to lead lives. But if the schools or the boards or the government can genuinely invest more time in training and helping teachers also up their skill set, also be better teachers, also teach them how to experientially learn how to utilize some of these tools, etc., there will be so much of a waterfall effect on the students, right? If you teach one teacher, she's teaching 400 kids. So it's almost like you spend money on one person, you see impact on 400 kids, right? So that's my number one sort of thing. The second thing would be give students some free time on their calendars. You cannot always have a student walk into the school at 8 a.m. and then leave the school at 2 with nothing in between for them to have a space or scope for a free learning exercise, right? Give out some time, even if it's just once a week, even if it's just Friday 2 hours, Friday 1 hour, that goes into teaching students something that is outside of the curriculum. Could be anything. Workshops, people will do it for free. I am happy to do it for free for any school that is around me, right? There'll be so many people like me who would do free workshops, free trainings for the teachers, free anything that they really want to give back. Give them space, give them scope that they can come in front of your students and speak, right? American schools have bring your parent to school, where parents come in and talk about their careers, they talk about their, like, they tell stories. So much they do. Why can't we do all of those things in India, right? Because we don't have space on the timetable.
Right.
When will you do it? So free up space on students timetable, even if it's just half an hour, 1 hour in the week, and let them explore something different. um yeah, to have mentorship for school kids. These are just coming at the top of my head, but good mentorship takes you a very, very long way. I think that is something we lack tremendously, not just at schooling and not just in education level, but in general. It's a very Indian mindset to not we either see people as this doesn't come close to me, or we see people as competition, or we see people as aspirations. We never see people as mentors. It could be your friends, it could be your students, it could be your bosses, your leaders, your colleagues, anybody, but anybody that you can learn from. Have mentors in the industry, not in the industry. So if you start mentorship at a student level, nothing like it. So maybe have mentors. Yeah, those are the three top sort of, these can be done for tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, wherever.
Right. No, makes sense. Okay. So when you say that a lot of schools are investing a lot in their teachers and their curriculum and the other activities that goes around school, is that the reason we are seeing a lot of hike in the fee structure? Uh, in tier wasn't, I mean, in all
So not a
cities.
lot of schools are doing that. Some school, I was saying that the schools that are successful,
Yeah,
that I see are have been doing that. I wish more schools were doing this. Um, on the fee structure front, I think, um,
I mean, my question is
I'm
that, is it justified? Because it is getting too much out of hand for me. The kind of fee structure that I'm hearing around me are like,
I think
this is
that's
difficult.
that's also very NCR specific problem to have. I think that that's not the case in, even if you step a little further away, even not in NCR, actually that's more a Delhi Gurgaon
Delhi,
experience
Gurgaon,
that.
Noida, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Mumbai,
Yeah, but
these places.
in my understanding, that's simple economics. It's a demand supply game, right?
Right,
The
right,
demand is very high for some of the schools, the supply of seats is very less. And therefore, they are playing on that. It's just business. I think I see it like that, that it's business. Is it right or wrong? Well, in my opinion, education should be free at till a certain age, any which way. So, in general, even if you charge 2 rupees for it, it's wrong. That is, I mean, not wrong, but that is in a way. Could be made better. But yeah, it's just demand supply. I think the moment you step away from, like, let's go to Faridabad or even Greater Noida, great schools with very less fees. But for example, like good boardings in India have already always been very high costing, and great schools in Delhi have always been on the higher side. It's more about getting a seat on those in those schools, etc.
right.
So I think it's a demand supply thing. I don't think it has to do with quality of delivery or anything else. It's just an economic market thing, as I see it.
Okay, so we are very much in the game still. The education is still very affordable. A good education is still very much affordable.
Yes, I think, and a lot of it can be, if you like, with how much access we have to information, a lot can be supplemented at home by using the tools and technology to your advantage also. So I think that is something that we've allowed kids to now watch TV, right? Like kids now watch YouTube a lot, but we are not allowing them to watch the right YouTube. We are not sort of managing that properly so that it can help their learning. So I think maybe on that front is something that parents can do. And I say this as a mom of a 10-month-old who is uh, right now fascinated by everything. I'm constantly trying to learn new things on how I can help her be a better, more holistic individual, and a well-learned individual. So I think I read a lot on that space, also the early, even before schooling, learning experiences. And I think one of the things that parents can definitely do is moderate this screen time and a lot of these aspects which can be used to the advantage. Even when a kid grows up a little bit, like till 3 years they recommend no screen time at all anyway, but after that it can be managed so that you're using it to deliver value to the student, to the kid, rather than deliver entertainment to the kid.
Right, right. Makes sense. Makes sense. Uh, it's a technology is a great power, and
Yeah,
as the Uncle Ben said, with great power comes great
comes great
responsibility.
responsibility. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree.
Um, this has been a lovely session, Dr. Said. Finally, I can't just call you Nandini again and again. So I mean, just again to reiterate, it was worth the time that you and me have taken, to connect
To
for the
schedule it.
podcast. Yeah, to schedule it and then finally to connect over the podcast. I have taken so many nuggets out of this, and I'm sure that we're going to take even more when we see you in the event. Uh,
Absolutely.
Hope you like the podcast, and any closing words from you.
Absolutely loved, firstly, being a part of this. These are the things that you spoke about is something that I'm so passionate about, that I can be woken up at 3 a.m. in the night, and you can start talking to me about um, the game of learning, the game of school, education, technology in education. I think this is a wonderful space, right? And I find myself feeling so privileged at times that I was in the right room at the right time, that I was um, that I was keen on technology, that I went to IIM, or that I met Pratham when he was designing Masters Union, or that I now get, because of technology, get to share my thoughts with a lot of people, however radical and sometimes unachievable they may seem. um, I think I think parting thoughts would just be this. I think find um, find your core values as an educational institution, as a parent, as a student. as a recruiter, find the value system that works for you. So in my understanding, for example, I believe, um, so if I was to give my sort of value system that I try to teach to my students, I use it for myself, I teach it to my team, and I now I'm teaching it to my daughter, is um first one being curiosity. So be very, very curious in wanting to learn new things, very, very curious in exploring new things, very, very curious in hearing people out, learn something from everybody. The second one is being resilient. The third one is a bias for action. So do things that you're genuinely, just try out things. You might fail, but there's going to be so much learning that comes out of that failure. So I think that would be my parting word to anybody listening. Sit down and think about what are your three core values that you want to hold on to when it comes to learning, and then hold them on, no matter whether you're in school, whether you're in college, whether you're in PG, you're working, you're learning, whatever you're doing, hold on to those core values. It's very easy to always go back and say, am I being curious enough? Am I being resilient enough? Am I taking enough action? If the answer to all those three questions is yes, you're good, you're gold. If it's not, then reevaluate what you're doing. So I think, yeah, those will be my parting words. I've been thinking a lot about if I want to change my core values, I still come back to these three. But yeah, think about your core values. What would be yours, Sagar? Have you ever thought about learning wise? What are your core values?
Um, not really thought about it, but I don't know about three, but at least I know about one. Um, I believe in speaking the truth in business, at least. Uh, if it is not the if it is not the right way, it is not the right way. That's for me. And another core value now, because when I'm talking, I can sense that unless I feel that this is the right thing for my subordinates, for my family, for my team, for my partner, I cannot convey it to them. So it should make sense to me, then it will make sense to them. So, I mean, to define these core values is I mean, being truthful to your business, to your relationships, to your subordinates, to everyone. And third is, if it doesn't make sense, it will not make sense to others also. So try that it makes sense to you, and then you take that
So
forward.
what I hear
And
is honesty and first order thinking, maybe.
right,
Right.
honesty and first order thinking. Right,
Mhm.
right. Maybe I can put this in my bio as as well. Today I've defined it.
Yeah.
Honesty and first order thinking. Right. And what you said is that, I mean, have your value system, three, four things, whatever. It might change also, but at least there has to be some value always
Yeah.
that you have. Uh, I have read Dr. Radhakrishan Pillai's book, Chanakya Niti, and there was a
Hmm.
beautiful line: if you don't stand for anything, you fall for everything.
Yeah.
So this, and I've been thinking about this for like 2 3 days, and while I'm talking to you today, uh, it, it just came in the last to me. So thank you very much for bringing this thought again out of me. It was a lovely session, Dr. Seth. I really enjoyed it, and I'm eagerly looking forward to meeting you in person in the event soon. And our viewers, if you wanna enjoy this live, uh, join us on 22nd and 23rd in the EdTalk World Conference, which is in Lee Merit in New Delhi. We'll put the details in the description. Thank you very much for watching the show. And if you like it, like this video, share this video, and click on that red button to subscribe to EdTalk podcast channel. Meanwhile, I'll see you in the next podcast. Stay hungry and keep learning. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Seth.
Thank you, Sagar. Thanks.